Heartily welcome to Dig Deep, our podcast about news in the digital world. Our guest today is David Orban. Hi, David.
Hello, thank you very much for having me on the show.
David is an investor, entrepreneur, author, blogger, keynote speaker, and he's a thought leader of the global technology landscape. He was in the founding team of Singularity University, and he was the first to own Ether during the Ethereum launch in 2014. So I'm pretty excited to talk to you, David, about your experiences, how to deal with these new technologies and disruptions. David, my first question is, what are you doing at the moment? What is in your focus?
I am part of the group that 10 years ago designed Singularity University in California at the NASA Research Park with funding from Google and other investors. I'm an advisor, an investor, and a member of the faculty there. And a few years later, I started a series of initiatives around my ideas of how exponential technology is going to lead towards decentralization. These are part of the Network Society Research, which is a think tank, and Network Society Ventures, which is a seed stage investment company, and Network Society Lab, which is an advisory group in venture development. So I am an investor and a speaker at conferences, an author of books, all around the intersection of exponential technologies and decentralization.
Singularity University is something that is quite famous, and the word singularity is looking for something that is quite different from the world I come from. So my customers, they have questions and I shall answer them. What is driving you is, what is the question that I should be asking? So you're looking for questions. Why is that?
I believe that the power of human creativity and human ingenuity is boundless. Obviously, past performance is no guarantee for future performance, but it is definitely the case that for the past million years, to give a round number, at a degree unparalleled by any other species, we have been able to address and overcome the challenges that we have seen. Now, the way that we do that is because we are able to model in our minds these challenges, and we are able to map the boundaries of the challenges and then push out from those boundaries into the unknown. And the tools that we have in order to do that are our narratives, are our mythologies, are our ways of querying the universe. That is why I believe that the ability of asking smart questions is a fundamental human ability. And that is why I adopted this, what is the question that I should be asking, as my personal motto.
So what are the questions we should ask at the moment?
Each of us goes through a trajectory in our personal lives as we grow up and learn about the world, and then see what we can do, what should we do, professionally, personally, in our communities, in the society at large, and really, I think one of the most important questions that people can ask themselves is, am I free to pursue the trajectory that I think can most benefit myself, my family, my community, and my society? And if I am not free to do that, what can I do in order to increase the degrees of freedom of my choices? And then, as a consequence of that, is about the choices themselves, to be self-reflective and to be self-aware. Are these choices leading to desirable outcomes, or are these choices diminishing the quality of my life and the opportunities of myself, my family, my community, and my society. And if people are able to ask themselves these questions and start designing answers around these questions, then a lot of the consequences are quite natural. A lot of frustration from various nations and societies and continents and both technological and political areas comes from a certain degree of inability of asking these questions.
Now, you meet a lot of people in these different formats. There's Singularity University in the States, but there are also local formats. I believe that a lot of people are knowing somehow about these topics you're talking about, are knowing about that degrees of freedom that are perhaps missing. Now, they come from a setup where a lot of restrictions are all available and seem to be very unchangeable. And they come to these formats. What is happening there? If people open up their mind and people have a new way of looking on their lives, on their questions. So what is the most striking thing when they come from corporate to these places?
Hundreds or thousands of years ago, it was relatively convenient from the point of view of the intellectual life of an average person, because the religion told you what to believe in, the king told you what to obey, and statistically speaking, you were a farmer. And your father did something that you repeated for your own life, and then you taught your child to do the same in his or her life. And change was slow enough or rare enough that the structure of your life would very seldom be questioned. The difference today is that technology-driven change is not only visible from one generation to another, which, for example, in the 150 years ago or so led to universal education, because society realized that it wasn't enough to transmit knowledge across generations as it used to be the case for thousands of years. We needed to increase the pace of knowledge transmission because change was accumulating very fast. Today, 10 or 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, we realized that wasn't enough either. And in many companies, starting maybe with top and middle management, but then involving everybody, training and updating skills and knowledge for everybody in a given business became essential, because we realized that change was fast enough to need that. You couldn't start to work and then pretend that what knowledge you acquired before starting to work was enough to last until you retired. So today, things are even faster, and an increasing proportion of the time for everybody should be actually dedicated to upgrading our skills. But since everybody's in this situation, we cannot and should not trust authority telling us exactly what we should do. We should experiment very, very openly at every level of an enterprise, and the ability of admitting that the outcome of this experiment could be positive or negative, but you will learn regardless, is very difficult, because in a traditional hierarchical organization, the people on the top should always know the answers. And today that is often not true.
can completely admit that this is true. So if I look on my own organization, it's a constant experiment how to do things and to change each year something and to tweak it and to find out what's the right way. But organizations, you see, at the beginning, they are an answer to a concrete question. You have a customer, you have a process, you need to organize somehow. And then it gets self-fulfilling, self-sustaining. So it creates also not only power, but also security, stability for people. What do you think about these words, stability and trust and so on, in a world that is changing so fast that's very difficult to understand what's happening at the moment? So will we have these things where we can trust on, we can stick to?
Systems evolve, but evolution evolves itself. So if biology is happy to kill millions of species, not only billions of individuals, in order to carry out its experiments, and then it will find a solution, or maybe it will not find a solution, we operate differently because we execute a moral judgment together with the design and the outcome of our experiments. That is why we have bioethical committees at pharmaceutical companies that have a godlike viewpoint on what can or cannot be done, what should or shouldn't be done in terms of experiments. So that is, I think, very important, because the lack of stability and security that today's world is characterized by is a very natural consequence of things. And one could say, oh, well, it is natural, so I will just accept it. But human suffering is real. The uncertainty of somebody laid off in their 50s and completely uncertain whether he or she will find a new occupation, or the uncertainty of parents as they see their child growing up and deciding whether a 4-year college education is going to guarantee the type of job that they found exiting college. These are very real challenges. And that is why a laissez-faire attitude, where the certainty that everything will be fine because the markets will work out what are the right answers, is true and absolutely inhumane, because it does not care about the reality of the human suffering. So understanding that, and as a consequence, addressing what are the governance structures that are appropriate for our times is a real differentiator in how societies react to today's challenges.
Yeah, I agree. So now we talk a lot in Germany, we talk a lot about digital transformation. And it suggests that there is one thing before and then it transforms, it morphs somehow to something new after. But when you talk about evolution, this never happens, because it's individuals that survive or don't survive, and something new evolves just by something new coming in. So what do you think about that transformation of corporations? Big companies that are there, that have their DNA, their inner logic, their system, how they were working. Do you think it is possible to morph them to something new, more agile, more open, etc.? Or will they die and other companies will come in?
Innovation can be, actually, by definition, innovation is progressive. You measure the quality of a process and you aim to increase that quality in terms of expected output. However, disruptive inventions are incompatible with this process because the nature of your desired outcome radically changes, and you cannot, by progressive steps, arrive to the point where you can actually survive. So, paradoxically, those companies that are very good at managing innovation in terms of progressive quality improvement are not necessarily good, or maybe are really bad in surviving disruptive changes. But there are examples where it could appear that methods for doing that are also being evolved. The fact that these disruptions happen, I think, is in front of everybody's eyes who care to understand what is going on. Um, uh, Apple and Google were not in the telecommunications industry 10 years ago, or maybe now 12, but suddenly they dominated it. They came out with a paradigm shift in how you design and produce mobile phones and how you create ecosystems around mobile phones that just completely transformed the industry. And a new shift like that is coming in the car industry, for example, where the way that automotive transportation is going to be in the next 10 years is going to be totally different. An iPhone moment for cars is coming. And I believe that just like Nokia had its CEO on stage, after the change, literally with tears in his eyes, saying, "We did everything right, but we still failed." The same is going to happen in the car industry for a lot of the protagonists today, who will be totally unprepared for the transformations that are coming.
Yeah, I agree. So in the Nokia case, there's one famous letter. It's about 4 or 5 years after the iPhone emerged on the market. And the first reaction of Nokia was, it was also one of our customers, it was really like, hey, what they're producing in 1 year, we are selling in 1 week. So it was, we are so strong, they are so small. And in that famous letter, the Nokia boss just talked not about the product and not about technology. That was what was driving their thoughts since then. It was just about culture. So if you look on successful companies where you would say they understand how to go also for disruptive things, are there differences? What's different to a normal company who's just innovative?
Disruptive change um, is naturally and necessarily perceived as a threat by the existing structures of a successful company. Because it comes with uncertainty, it is radically different, and nobody's bonuses at the end of the year derive from cutting the tree on which they are sitting, right? So one of the lessons of managing disruptive change is to protect those who are passionate and creative and are capable of managing risk, tolerant towards risk at a sufficient degree, isolate them from the rest of the corporate immune system, and give them the right amount of resources and the right amount of independence and autonomy to innovate, to radically, disruptively invent the new products, services, and business models that will create the future for the company. And there are some that are able to do this actually in a structured manner. Cisco has a pretty famous group of Italian managers, or not all of them are Italian. I think 3 out of 4 that have this system down very precisely to the point where they left Cisco with an agreement to create a new product line, and Cisco would buy back if they achieved a given result within a given amount of time, and they did this 4 times over. They call it a spin-in rather than a spin-off, right? They knowingly say to the large corporate environment, you will be better off if you let us go, and then you will pay us a huge amount of money for us to come back. And I don't remember the exact number, but they are at something like $2 billion of transactions across these 4 instances of spin-in.
So this is quite a radical way then also to really walk the talk. So what we see mostly is that you try to get the flavor of innovation and disruption somehow into your old system, and so you organize hackathons and you invest in labs, etc. But when it comes to the question, how radical are you? How strong is your belief in that? How innovation could transform you? Then you start to go back and you stick to your existing systems. You don't want to hurt your running business, etc. So that's very interesting. I have one personal question. What is the most interesting question for you personally at the moment you're thinking about? So what is your passion at the moment focused on?
As I look at the innovations and technologies that we are seeing, definitely artificial intelligence is over-delivering. Even when an expert is looking at the results of machine learning and deep learning, surprising everybody. So definitely that is an area where every business should start asking themselves how to adopt AI approaches and what is required in terms of hardware, algorithms, and data in their own business in order to be able to ride the wave of AI disruption. And the second area that is both technological but also organizational is that of blockchain. The incredible invention of blockchain is how to derive a consensus around truth without imposing trust. Basically, everybody in the world today can say, oh yeah, I agree, that's true. I still hate you, I still not trust you, but whatever we are looking at, whether it is a passport, whether it is the data from a production line, whether it is the forecast of some supply chain, whether it is anything else in our business, can be now derived much more efficiently than before. And the consequences of that are going to ripple through business models very rapidly, radically opening up businesses that have been able to shield behind this knowledge they had that shared consensus could only derived by imposing trust through a hierarchy of authority. And explosive new value creation is going to be generated through the alternative that is now possible. That is why thinking about how to adopt a blockchain-based business model is going to be an incredibly important existential challenge for every business. With Network Society, we are launching a business model like this, and as a consequence, we are designing the Network Society token that will be the fuel of the engine of this radically open and decentralized business model. And I invite all of your listeners to similarly think about what it can be for their activities.
We see that a lot of people, a lot of corporates start to understand how the technology works, like AI or also blockchain. What would be your advice to find better questions? Because what we experience is at the moment that they all stick to their known business models. They stick to their rules. They stick to their organizational setup. What's a good recipe to open up your mind and asking better questions that are bigger than your today's scope?
Well, what is incredibly empowering about these technologies is that the barrier to entry is zero. Literally, you can go on your browser and go to google.ai/learn and start learning about how to apply artificial intelligence in your business. Or you can go to bitcoin.de or coinbase.com and set up a Bitcoin wallet and start to understand the power of atomized global alignment of economic transactions with machine-powered business models. And those businesses that don't have the excitement and the curiosity of starting to test these are doomed to fail. So I hope that there will be a lot of people in every possible business that don't do it because a manager came and tasked that person in order to do it. They will do it because they are curious and passionate. Maybe they will do it even if the manager tells them not to do it. They will rebel. They will be revolutionaries within the company itself and saving the company, working in secret, and then triumphantly presenting it at a meeting to the risk of getting fired or embraced. And both of those outcomes will be positive. Because if you do something like that and you get fired, then you will thrive outside of the company that doesn't deserve to have you. If the company sees what you've done and forgives the sin of having rebelled inside and subversively created this incredible solution, then you sigh with relief and you will thrive inside the company. But as long as you are curious and passionate and creative, there is no robot that will steal your job. There is no AI that will replace you. You will use robots and AI and blockchain and many other technologies to multiply the power of your creativity 100-fold. And that is what will create value to you and to your business.
David, I'm absolutely sure that this so inspiring talk of you will help people to be curious and to move on and to open up their mind. Thank you so much for your inspiring talk, and I'm happy that we have been talking to each other. It was really great listening to you. As always, you will find all the details and David Orban's website and all the links you have spoken about also on the digdeep.de website. And hopefully we'll hear much more from you, David. Thanks again.